What's up everyone and welcome back to Reload Reacts episode 66. My name is Trey and today we are going to look through r/today I messed up, the subreddit for those who have messed up in their life and just want to share it with the world of Reddit. This first post is by a CGI for Ants. Today I messed up by being an instant coffee enjoyer. I'm an incredibly oblivious person. My own parents once switched up a rug I love to lay on and it took me half a year to notice. So anyway, as I've gotten older, I've started to drink coffee. As I've gotten broker, this went from a $1.50 can to a Starbucks instant coffee. And then finally I began questioning why I was sticking with this brand, which was small, that I couldn't always find in the store. I saw a larger container of coffee, it looked cool enough and I've gone through 2 batches of that over the past year. While I didn't drink coffee ritualistically, there was still an entire 365 days of not realizing anything was up. Around this time, I started hearing more people talk about getting Keurigs, which I thought was strange since you can just use instant coffee in a kettle, but just thought it was one of those new trendy things. So here's the routine I stuck to. Add coffee, then add boiling water and maybe creamer. I mainly needed it to wake up and over time, the bitter flavour, hot water and crunchiness grew on me. I just thought the Starbucks coffee was extra nice and that's why it was so smooth, and that this is what people meant when they brought up instant coffee. I'd heard of coffee filters before, but those are for when you're fancily using whole beans or making Christmas snowflake decor. Eventually, just as I was starting to feel done with the game of waiting for the coffee grounds to sink and avoiding whatever side of the mug had some floaters, I came across a TikTok hack. It mentioned mixing creamer or cold water into the instant coffee so it dissolves smoother. Dissolves? But I thought... It was only then that I realized instant coffee was supposed to dissolve and that the coffee should never come with extra crunch. What I had been drinking for the past year was coffee grounds, raw and unfiltered, warts and all. Anyways, over the last few days my mornings have been way more pleasant. Oh my, the top comments got this right. I've heard of coffee filters before, but those are for when you're fancily using whole beans. Now I want to hear a detailed description of what OP used to think goes into brewing regular coffee. Exactly. Bro is just munching on the beans. This next post is by Lord Lemming. Today I messed up. I learned Guitar Hero and ruined my sense of rhythm for over a decade. Oh god. I played music since middle school and Guitar Hero was a big factor in that. I played hundreds of hours of Guitar Hero, bought most of the games, got into Rock Band and could complete expert level songs with near 100% accuracy while singing. In high school, I played in all 3 bands, one of which I skipped lunch every day to play in, and took music theory class. After high school I learned multiple instruments, took college level music theory, and learnt about the physics of sound for fun. After college I got into recording my own music. I barely have over 100 listeners on any of my songs, but it's just a fun creative outlet. I did not realize my F up until someone made a comment about one of my songs. They said they liked it, but that it sounded like I only ever used the first take because nothing was on beat and I was rushing everything. I thought this was strange. I thought I had a perfectly fine sense of beat. I've played for years and no one has said anything. Well, I go into my digital audio workstation and zoom in on one of the tracks I recorded, and the commenter was right. Everything was just before the beat. I thought maybe this was some mistake of the software, but lag would put me behind the beat, not in front of it. That's when I realized what had happened. In Guitar Hero and Rock Band, and any rhythm game, there is lag between your input and the screen, so in order to play accurately, I had to predict the beat and play consistently just a little bit ahead. This then transferred to my actual playing. Because most of my playing was either in a large group or by myself, no one ever noticed. But zooming in I could see it plain as day. I'd trained myself even with metronomes that playing a little bit ahead was the right thing. Not by a lot, just a little, but every single time I was consistently ahead. Now I have to retrain decades of muscle memory to actually play on the beat. It's like I'm relearning one of the most basic skills I should have had the whole time. Edit. No, I did not set up the calibration for Guitar Hero. The first one didn't even have calibration. The second one did, but I was still a child and I had already learned to compensate for the lag anyway. For Rock Band, I used exclusively wireless controllers, which introduced their own lag in addition to the visual lag. Oh no. As for my DAW, digital audio workstation, I have direct monitoring through my interface. I use ASIO drivers, and even with the various delay compensations turned off, I run into the same timing issue. I never noticed with a metronome because my reference point was Guitar Hero for what felt like on beat, and really at the end of the day, it is not a huge amount of rushing. This next post is by Shroom Talk. Today I messed up, fell asleep at the movie's past close. Wait, what? No one woke you up? I, 19F, had no plans Friday night, and decided to take a substance and go see the last showing of Aliens Romulus at 10:30 PM by myself, like any sane and normal person would do. Yeah, of course, sure, totally. I'd say I made it about halfway through the movie till I tapped out. The chairs at AMC are really comfortable, by the way, 10 out of 10. Anyway, I woke up in the most confused state of my life. Takes me about 30 seconds to realize A, the movie's over, B, it's now 1:30 AM, C, I'm all alone and the building is completely shut down, not an employee in sight. After wandering around this liminal space while being absolutely baked, I found an exit door that takes you out of the back of the building. I keep walking around the exterior of the building for what feels like a decade just trying to find the entrance. Then all of a sudden I see what I think is the last 3 employees getting in their cars to leave. This story wouldn't be as funny if it wasn't for coming across them and hearing them talk to each other about how they swear they checked the back. No words were exchanged between us as I walked past in shambles, just complete silence. Anyway, that experience alone was scarier than the movie itself. Could not stop laughing about it on my way home though. That was kind of funny. This next post is by Cassandra8240. Today I messed up by not noticing a button on my headphones for 7 years. When I got my headphones back in 2017, I liked how the buttons for turning the volume up/down were separated. The design choice made sense to me. It was easy to aim for the correct one. Yeah, mine are the same. I do like that. Today I began looking into newer headphones with more advanced noise cancellation. I was also interested in a cool feature I've seen other people using on their earbuds. The ability to pause/skip/go back with a simple button press. I figured that if this newer feature was available on earbuds, newer headphones must have it as well. I watched a video comparing the updated versions of my preferred brand, and I noticed a multi-function button, placed between the volume buttons on the lower end model. It struck me that this setup looked familiar to my current headphones, which proceeded to take off and examine closely. With a sinking heart, I replaced my headphones and pressed the space between the volume buttons. Then comparison video began to play. I pressed the space twice, and it skipped to the next video. The power was mine all along. For 7 years, I grabbed my phone and navigate audiobooks and podcasts, not realizing that the buffer space of my headphones was actually a button itself. No! Just wait until you discover the other button that turns on noise cancelling. This next post is by Blackened1. Today I messed up by never using my core muscles for 30 years. This is probably gonna sound dumb, and that's because it is. My balance has always been essy. I attributed that to the fact that during puberty, I grew 1 foot taller in a single year. I figured my body never got adjusted to the new equilibrium, because it happened so quickly. I never gave it any thought beyond that. So one day I was stretching before a run and I had moved on to the flamingo stretch, quad stretch where you stand on one leg. My wife was there and she likes to poke fun at my lack of balance. It's just some light-hearted ribbing, it's no big deal. So I was hopping on 1 foot and flailing my arms. My wife was laughing at me and she uttered these fateful words. "It's not like you're using your core at all." Me, a dummy. Why would I use my core? I'm balancing on my leg. Wait, what do you mean? Your balance comes from your core. I'm not using my core, I'm using my legs. You're not flexing your core at all? No, that's stupid. Why would I need my core to balance on my leg? Flex your core right now, just do it. So I flexed my abs and immediately stopped wobbling over and stood upright. Huh, that's weird. Have you been balancing without your core this whole time? Yeah, I guess so. I didn't think I needed it. How the F have you been balancing without your core? Well, badly. I didn't know I needed to do it. You have to use your core for everything. Why wouldn't you need it to balance? I don't really use my core all that often. What? So after that, I'd just be doing a normal activity, like carrying one of our kids in my arm, and my wife would ask me if I was using my core. So I'd start flexing my core and my kid would get easier to carry. Or she would ask me how to do something, for instance, how do I get in a car? Well, I'd just sort of bend my legs and just sort of fall backwards into the seat. After a few days of this, something clicked into my brain. I loved sports as a kid. I played them all the time, nearly every day. But I was always bad at them. My balance was awful and I was uncoordinated. I was a terrible swimmer. I was weak. I was so weak, in fact, that I never understood when people would say that men are so much stronger than women. My wife could overpower me when she wanted to. I'd struggle and strain and she would push me back. It was a bit humiliating, but I'd never let her know that. Well, it took some training, but eventually I started instinctively using my core for everything. I started using it while walking, while lifting things, even just standing in one spot I use my core now. It's been 2 years and sometimes I can't believe the change I've seen. I'm 33 and I'm the strongest I've ever been. I can do things with ease that used to struggle with. I'm stronger than my wife now, which is an ego boost. I beat my half marathon time by 30 minutes, from 2:20 to 1:50. This summer I started lifting weights to get even stronger. I love how I feel now. My confidence is higher and I'm a happier person. I'm not sure how I never learned to use my core muscles for anything. I do wonder how strong I could have gotten in my 20s if I had been using my body the way I was supposed to. I don't dwell on it. I'm just glad that I was able to change my body when I did. I never would have thought that a playful jibe from my wife would change my life so much. This next post is by Xanax Giggles. Today I messed up by accidentally trauma bonding with my boss's dog and now he follows me home. What an interesting title. So my boss brought his dog to the office, cute golden retriever named Max. Everyone was petting him, giving him treats, whatever. I stayed chill. I don't trust dogs that trust everyone. Then lunchtime hit. I was having a rough day. I sat in the break room alone, eating sad pasta and listening to Landslide by Fleetwood Mac. Max walks in, looks at me, lays his head on my lap like he knows. I start talking to him. Not baby talk, like full on life's hard bro, huh? Type beat. He sighs. For 20 minutes we just sit there in mutual emotional exhaustion. I think I cried a little. Anyway, now he follows me around the office, growls at HR, tries to get in my car when I leave. Today, he brought me his leash. My boss is annoyed. His wife says Max sleeps near the door now and seems distant. I think I emotionally hijacked their family dog. Do I return him or is this joint custody now? Aww, that's kinda cute. Dogs just tend to do that. They have emotional connections and they try to cheer you up in most cases. This next post is by ARZ and then like 12 eyes. Today I messed up by accidentally becoming the neighborhood crow whisperer. This is my life now. It all started innocently enough. I saw a lone crow in my yard and tossed it a cracker. Harmless, right? Wrong. That single act of kindness seems to have spread through the crow grapevine, and now I have a full-blown murder of crows as my constant companions. Every morning, I step outside and they're there, perched in nearby trees, clawing like they're clocking into their day jobs. They follow me on walks, and yesterday one even dropped a shiny gum wrapper at my feet. I think they're trying to pay me in crow currency, which is both endearing and slightly unnerving. At this point, I've accepted my new role as their unofficial snack provider and accidental overlord. I'm genuinely curious to see where this goes. Maybe I'll end up with a crow army or a collection of shiny gifts. Either way, it's a wild ride and I'm here for it. Damn. That sounds fun. I had the opposite experience. Gave some food and water to an injured/sick crow that was dying in a field by my house. When I approached it, the crows all around it, up in the trees, started flipping out. Even years later, Even after moving away for a year, they recognized me and followed me through the neighborhood, squawking at me aggressively and picking off little branches and dropping them on me. Apparently, crows and other birds tend to investigate a death and attempt to learn from the experience and assign blame. So just by trying to help the little guy, I got blamed for his death because I was at the scene of the crime before he died. Wow. It's kind of weird, but it's smart. This next post is by Seaweave10. Today I messed up by creating an alter ego as a bit, and this alter ego now shows up on my credit report and background check. So technically was not today, but today was the day I realized how extensive the issue is. To back up about 10 years, I created this fake persona as a joke, to F with my boss at the time, who had a good sense of humour but insanely gullible. He was frantically trying to hire for a sales position and wasn't getting any applicants and said I'd hire about anyone right now, so I said okay. I created this ridiculously outlandish but believable resume with a bunch of funny titles and job responsibilities for this southern redneck named Ricky, who was the assistant to the VP of local janitorial operations at Chuck E. Cheese, a semi-retired rock star who liked to play at the bars, and an ex-pit stop mechanic for Dale back in the day. I created a whole crazy backstory on a cover letter and applied for the job but made it sound almost believable. I even went as far as to trim my beard down to a Hulk Hogan stash, and I have this mullet wig I used for a Joe Dirt costume in middle school and sent him an email a few days later applying with a really cringe candid headshot my girlfriend at the time took and sent it to him. In the emails told him I was going to roll up to the office soon on the spot for an interview because he would have been stupid not to hire me. He had no idea it was me, so I started effing with him even more and calling his office phone doing my deep southern accent, not hard because I grew up in the south and have an accent in me, so I basically drop an octave and do a Blake Shelton impression, haha. And telling him I was ready to work and he was mildly concerned this weirdo was going to show up one day. I told absolutely nobody I was doing this and was dying hearing him talk to colleagues about this weird dude who keeps calling him. Then on Friday before a holiday, I came into the office with the wig, stash, jean jacket, my boots, and an Ozzy Osbourne t-shirt I found at Goodwill and kept in character for most of the day. The rest of the company found out about this and thought it was the funniest thing ever, as did my friends and family, so it became kind of a bit and evolved into this redneck alter ego thing. We had this office that was repurposed as a storage room nobody went into, and they put a nameplate on the door for Ricky, and from what I understood, that was Ricky's office for several years even after I left. From there, I created a Facebook page, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, etc. over a several period of years. I just post stupid-ass here and there, like crazy redneck stories he had in horrendous grammar, random YouTube videos, and just random stuff. It's become like a lore at this point, and I've just kept it going because I've had fun with it. My friends will contact me and say, "What's old Slick Rick been getting into these days?" And I've gotten really proficient at Photoshop, so I'd put him into photos and create a funny backstory as to how he got there. He will absolutely be in attendance front row the inauguration in a few days somehow, and I've put out a couple songs in his voice where I've played the guitar intentionally bad and did a diss track a few months ago. I literally learned how to play guitar decently so I could intentionally do it slightly off tune. It has been a really good way for me to connect with a lot of my friends in different places I don't see often anymore, and it makes me happy to know it makes them smile. I got to a point where it started to overlap, and I let the hillbilly, hell-raising energy carry over into my daily life a bit, and can flip the accent on and off. I work as a sales director leadership position at a software company now that's pretty high stress sometimes, so it's almost like an outlet where I can tune down my IQ a lot and just do stupid-ass and not take life so seriously. Nothing wrong with bringing a little laughter into people's lives, and I still think it's hilarious making stuff up for it. His slogan is mopping floors, drinking cores. I brought a C8 Corvette a few years ago and really played into the trailer park Ferrari jokes. But it makes me really happy this stupid A bit brings laughter to the lives of people I care about a decade later, and I literally cackle when I create stupid A scenarios and post for him. I'll go look through them sometimes and I'm like, how the F did I even come up with that? Anyways, I started using his namesake for random things, burner emails, things I don't want to sign up for using my names, referrals for services, etc. Basically, I signed him up for everything I didn't want to, or as an extra account legally that doesn't require a social security number. Old Ricky has a S-ton of Starbucks rewards, that's for damn sure. This was all fun and games until today. My wife and I are currently trying to sell our current home and we put in an offer that was accepted this morning. When working with the lender today, I have a credit monitoring program and I called and asked a few verification questions since I have my credit, and one of them came up and asked for known associates and Ricky last name came up and I was like, what? After looking at the credit report, when my wife and I got married 2 years ago, we ended up renting out her home to this really kind older gentleman who still lives there. However, on not only my credit report, but my wife's, it shows Ricky as the tenant and a known associate on background checks and searches. It also shows him as a co-tenant at a corporate apartment I rented 5 years ago at every credit agency. He apparently even shows up in his own background checks minus a social. I'm assuming this is due to data mining, but this is specifically problematic because when I brought this up to our lender and said, that's a problem, as we intend to keep the rental, somehow our tenant doesn't even show up for them and they just see Ricky. That was very difficult to articulate. Ricky is someone who doesn't exist, but when we have an actual renter who does exist but doesn't show up as a tenant other than the lease documents we have. Yeah, you kinda dug yourself a bit of a hole with that one. Interesting. I wonder how he got it on the credit report, that's not good. And anyway, that's gonna be it guys. I hope you enjoyed the stories in r/today I messed up. Let me know what you'd like to listen to next in the comment section below, and also hit that subscribe button because I post new Reddit content every single day. There are 2 videos on the screen right now, one of which is for the most recent video and another is for a video the YouTube algorithm thinks you'll want to watch next. My name is Trey, this was Reload Reacts and I will see you in the next video.